What's up, everyone? Welcome to another video produced by the App Lifestyle, the place where the world is literally in the palm of your hands. And in this video, we're going to be covering some which I don't really see people talking about too much. But what is the perfect app blueprint for you? What I mean by app blueprint? Well, when we're talking about this app lifestyle, meaning a way that your phone can generate revenue for you, we want to do it in a way so that it has a balance between you having to get out there, hustle and make money, and also it has that passive balance where, hey, you're putting in the money and it's going somewhere and it starts to snowball, making you money without you having to do much. So in a nutshell, you have your active apps and your passive apps. We're going to get into what those two are in a minute. Some of y'all might be wondering, Elijah, what's going on with the haircut? Well, long story short, my hairstylist has been out of pocket since this pandemic started, so I'm trying a new look. Now, if you want to know the full story, you can check it out on my Instagram, link in the description below, because I know people clicked on this video, that's not what they want to hear. So hear the full story on my Instagram. So what is the perfect app blueprint? Well, the perfect app blueprint is for you to have some passive apps and some active apps. In fact, let me switch the hands. Active and passive, okay? So active apps are any kind of app which you get in your car or you do some kind of activity to make money with. And passive apps is something that runs in the background, which is making you more money. Keyword is runs in the background, okay? If you got to do too much effort with these passive apps, by definition, they're not passive. So what are some examples of active apps? My personal favorite on this channel is Ubereats, but also normal Uber, which means rideshare. Same goes for Lyft. And you can put delivery apps in general in the active category. You got DoorDash, you got Grubhub, those. You also have Instacart where you're going delivering groceries. Those are examples of active apps. You put in work, you get paid for it, then you get a direct deposit, or you can cash out the earnings at the end of most of these apps whenever. So what's an example of a passive app? Because you want to have a balance. So many people focus on just getting this money active app wise, but if you don't put the work in, your earnings stop. You don't want that to happen. You want to have a balance of some passive apps. So what's a good example of some passive apps? Well, one passive app that is my personal favorite, and we're going to use the stock market in this example. You do have other things like real estate, but I'm not going to go into that. So one passive app is M1 Finance. And how is it passive? Well, those of y'all that probably already know, M1 Finance has a feature where you can set up your portfolios to spread your wealth among various stocks and various index funds. So for example, if you want shares in Google, Apple, and let's say Sony, you can divide them up in all those three stocks based on what percentages you want, and it'll do this automatically. Now, if you want to know more about M1 Finance, you can check out the video in the card right now, where I give a tutorial and a review on overall what it is. That alone doesn't make it passive though. What makes it passive is you can set up an automatic transfer from one of your bank accounts for a certain amount of money to go into that account each week. So that means that you can take a portion of your active app income. Let's just throw a number out there. I'll just say $100 a week. And you can take that, have it put into your M1 Finance brokerage account, and it's going to get split among your portfolio. And to get even better, if you have auto invest on your portfolio, anytime money hits the account, it gets split among your portfolio. That includes if your companies or index funds are paying dividends. So rather than a standard DRIP or dividend reinvestment program where they just keep buying you more shares of the same stock, it will actually deposit the money into your account and it'll get spread among your whole portfolio. Awesome, right? Now, some of y'all may be thinking, Elijah, you're buying individual stocks. I got to keep an eye on them and make sure they're not falling or rising, whatever. I don't want to do that. Well, here comes the more passive part yet again. If you buy index funds, then that's the most passive you can ever get, because index funds is a conglomeration of stocks in a particular industry. So if one stock goes just down a little or they suffer something, you're affected very minimal because that index fund is tracking that part of the market. So let's bring this home with an example which a lot of people love to use, and it actually is a fairly good example. So if you invest in the total stock market. This means every stock that's out there on the market is under the ticker VTI. And you also invest in the total international stock market index fund. That's under the ticker VXUS. In addition to these two, you also invest in the total US stock market index fund, or SWTSX ticker. And cap it all off, you decide to invest in the S&P 500, or under the ticker VOO. And you set it up on M1 Finance so that all those funds are spread out among those four. So that means 25 each. Now, what's up, everyone? So I wanted to slide this in here to give you more of a visual of what I'm talking about. In terms of you got your active apps, then you're funneling some of that money to a passive app using the structure we talked about. So we're going to use the stock market and M1 Finance, just like in the video example. Now, keep in mind that we're going to use the stock market. I'm going to be pulling from historical data. So on the average, the stock market has returned about 8% per year if you have dividends reinvested. And that's when people are using the S&P 500 to measure by, which according to a lot of professionals is like the bare minimum. There are higher returns you can get by investing in other things, but we're just going to use the minimum. And that's also not accurate today because me personally, I've seen returns of about 25 to 30%, but that's because of the pandemic. And it's not very often you're going to get hit with a situation that rivals the bubonic plague. So we're not going to take that consideration. So here we have a compound interest calculator, and you can always download this off of the App Store. For those of y'all that don't know what a compound interest calculator is, it's going to take that return, we spit in a few numbers, and it's going to give us a number result. So the initial value is going to be 0. We're going to assume that you're starting from scratch, and we're going to put in $100 per week, just like in the example. Now, if we add that, it's 4 weeks in a month, so the monthly deposit would be $400. Then we're going to put the interest rate at 8% because we're going off the average of the stock market, the returns. And we're going to put in a period for 12 months. And you see on the screen how much that will save you in 12 months. But let's play around with it just a little further. Let's go for 4 years. So that would be 48 months. So if you have that set up where $100 per week is going into a bank account, which M1 Finance draws from, and then you have that money divided in the way that we talked about, then this will get you $19,565 over a course of 4 years. Now, that's pretty much barely under a down payment for a house. The average house in America is around $100,000. And if you're financing, people want you to put down 20%. Well, I'll say it's less complicated if you put down 20%. I'm not going to go into the dynamics of why you want to do that. If you want to know details about stuff like that, go to my financial anatomy channel. But this is set up just so you can see what I'm talking about. So this can be happening on autopilot, and you can be out grinding. And by the time you're finished in 4 years, you can have a down payment for a house. And this is if you're, just a little aggressive. You can get more aggressive. Let's just step it up a notch and say you want to put $500 per month. And that just means $125 per week. So $500. And that boosts the results up to $24,456. That's obviously enough for a down payment on a $100,000 house. So these are things to think about, and you can set this up on autopilot so you can all you gotta do is get out there and hustle. Now, some of y'all may be thinking, well, I gotta come up with an extra $100 or $125 per week. But the beauty about these apps is you're in control of your income. So you can put in as much work as you want or scale back if it gets to be too much. But if you can just keep that up for this time frame, then guess what? You'll be well on your way to having a down payment for a $100,000 house if that's what you want. So this is just something to consider. So to bring it full circle, let's say this is how my week plays out. I put in a full week's worth on Ubereats, so I make about $500-$600. I take $100 of that and set it up so that every Wednesday $100 goes to my bank account and it goes to the brokerage M1 Finance. Well, guess what? Then M1 Finance is going to take that money and divvy it up among those stocks I just mentioned, which is stock index funds. And then it just keeps snowballing, keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And any dividends that are deposited into your account spread out among your whole portfolio, as long as your account balance is, if memory serves me correctly, above 20 bucks. And I didn't even talk about the return that you can get from the actual stocks themselves just getting in higher value. This is something that's both active and passive if you set it up right with this app blueprint. So you put in the work with your active app, Ubereats, DoorDash, Instacart, whatever, and you put some of that money into your passive apps, which is in this case M1 Finance. There are more out there, and if y'all want to hear more about some more of those passive apps, leave it in the comments below. But that gets you the result of, okay, you're putting in work for this money, but you're also setting yourself up to be getting ahead financially, having your money work for you. And you can do this in a very convenient way with this app structure or setup. Now, I should point out that you don't have to use the index funds that I just mentioned. You can use other ones. I mean, keeping it 100, I don't use all those index funds, but I'm willing to keep more of an eye on certain industries, so that's the trade-off. If you want to be truly passive, that's the stereotypical index funds that people invest in to keep track of the whole market, so they don't have to keep an eye on a certain industry. If you found value in this video, give it a thumbs up. It really helps out a lot. Subscribe if you're new, and also leave a comment on what's your view on this. Are you going to use this blueprint, or do you have another passive app that you'd rather funnel money into? I'd love to hear it in the comments below. That's it for now. I'll catch y'all in the next video. If you want to know a little more about stocks, investing, and personal finance in general, you might want to check out my second channel called Financial Anatomy, where I break those things down in more detail and not so general like I did in this video. Be safe and profitable out there. Catch you later.